This is a photograph of a parade. Up in Hartford, they have big parades on Memorial Day. This is my good friend Al Philibert, myself, and a lady called Linda Schwartz. Linda Schwartz served in the United States Air Force during Vietnam. She was a nurse, very proud to say she's my friend, although I don't see anything of her anymore. She's now in Washington, D.C., and she was instrumental in putting in the Nurses Monument. And she ran Rocky Hill Veterans Home and Hospital during that time. But now, like I say, she is in Washington. Her story, when she came back home after serving overseas, the plane lost compression. Something happened to part of the roof. She got off. When they got her off the airplane, she had no idea who she was or where she was. She did not even recognize her own daughter. Through the VA, they helped her out. She went back to college, got her degrees and everything, highly educated and a terrific person, and I consider her a great friend. But it just goes to show about along the way you meet all these great people, and that's what I want to talk about today. Nick, that's my room, by the way. See my room? Full of plaques all over the walls. I'd like to talk a little bit about the American Legion Post 174 in Oxford. I've been a member there for about 36 years now. Been very active in it. Worked with a lot of great people, had a lot of great mentors. One of the things we did after the wall that heals, I was walking away from the field, going to go home in my car. This gentleman came over to me and said, "Hey son," he says, "that was really nice what you did for them guys. How about us World War II guys?" And I said, I thought about it. And well, at that particular time, they were trying to put together the World War II monument. So I went back to the 8th grade school. 8th grade, well, the only school we had we went up to 8th grade was Oxford Great Hill School, and Great Oak School, excuse me. And I talked to the principal, Mr. Samuelson, and I said, "Listen, can't we do something to raise some money?" And he said, "Sure, what do you think?" I said, "How about we do a dinner?" He says, "Get the kids involved." He says, "Sure, we'll do a dinner." So they did a dinner, but it was so well received that they had to do 2 sittings. And any World War II veteran had a spaghetti dinner with the trimmings for free. But not a one of them would take it for free. Every one of them donated money. So after it was all said and done, I bought the soda, they raised the money, they paid for the food. But after it was all said and done, there were several $1,000s. I think it was like $5 grand they raised. And we sent it down to Washington. They loved it. They got hold of the principal at the time, Mr. Samuelson, said, "Hey, we're going to have a groundbreaking ceremony. We'd like the kids to be part of it." He was ecstatic. He says, "Well, let me get a hold of all the kids because we don't, excuse me, we don't have a high school." So he got a hold of all the kids, and yeah, everybody was pumped up to go. Calls me back up and says, "Bob, we can't go." I says, "What do you mean you can't go?" He says, excuse me, "I just got a call from Washington. Took too long." He says, "Well, you told them how the kids go to different high schools and you had to reach out to them." He says, "Yeah, but they said it took too long, so they told us to forget about it." I says, "Let me make a phone call." So I made a phone call. Congressman Jim Maloney was the congressman at the time, and he had his liaison for Veterans Affairs. The gentleman's name was Lou. And I had met Lou at the Wall That Heals and the Congress. I met a lot of people there. And I told him what transpired. And he says, "Let me make a phone call." So an hour later, he calls me back and says, "They're back in." You know, because I explained to him what was going on. Well, bottom line is they did go, but my Legion Post, we raised the money. So we bought the bus. Nobody had to pay. All they had to do was pay for their hotel room but all the transportation and everything was taken care of. And I have some footage of that, but I don't have it with me today. But it was a day that those kids will always remember. It was a day that I will always remember. And that's when I had the opportunity to say hello to Bob Dole. Bob Dole was walking away. Tom Hanks was there that day. Rosie the Riveter was there that day. Of course, the president was there that day. Everybody was there. But anyway, I ran into Bob Dole. He was walking away, security people all around him. And I had a copy of what the artist's conception of what the World War II monument would look like. So I went over to him and I says, as he's walking away, Mr. Dole, Mr. Dole. And security was walking him away. I says, would you sign this for a D-Day survivor? He stopped, turned around and said, what's his name? I said, Ted, my Uncle Ted. He says, to Ted from Bob Dole. And I still have that sitting proudly on my wall, along with my uncle's medals and all. But if you can see on one of these hats, a lot of these hats have all kinds of pins. One's celebrating the Korea veterans. So this one here is given to the Vietnam veterans, which I'm proud to say I'm a member of both of those. But this little pin right here was one that they gave out at the World War II groundbreaking ceremony. I got one for me, and I got about 12 others, which I gave out to World War II veterans. This is the only one I have left, and I proudly wear it on my U.S. Air Force hats. So just wanted to mention that. But that was part of what the American Legion did. And we did a lot of, we'll show you some footage in a little while, of the rough cuts of some of the school programs. I chaired the school programs, did it for 11 years. I had a very good rapport with them. But now it's come to the point in my life that I had to retire from the power company. I developed lumbar spinal stenosis, degenerating disc, and arthritis. I had 2 back operations. I could not continue working. So luckily I had enough years, enough time, so I retired. But once I retired, I realized, as much as I loved Connecticut and the people up there, and I met some fantastic people, had time to move on. So I came to Florida because my sister was down here. Oddly enough, after I moved down here, my sister went up to Maine, or New Hampshire rather. She went to New Hampshire. But I do remember one time in the town we had an island, traffic island, but you couldn't, nowhere you could park next to it. It was for World War II monument. It was the names of the guys who served over in World War II. And then there was another one that was up on a hill for World War I. There was a gentleman at the time, he was an independent, his name was Ed Oskowski. Ed was kind of a character, but a good-hearted man. And he also was a veteran, I believe, of Korea. And he said to me one day, you know what, we don't really have a good monument here. And now I'm getting ready to leave and I'm thinking, you know what, he's right. There really isn't anything here, there should be. So I got together with a bunch of people, and Ed had left office and there was a Democrat there. Johnson was her name. I forget her first name now. But anyway, the first selectman that was there, I pitched her the idea about putting in an all-veterans monument. And she said, yeah, sure. So I'll get one of the selectmen to work with you. So we started a process. I went back to the American Legion Post, and you know, I'm smart enough to know you get the right people if you want to get something done. So I went to my auxiliary. There was a lady named Pat Keckler, another lady named Bert Miles, a good friend Jack Patton. We put together a committee and try to figure out how we're going to do this. Well, I was going to leave in a year, less than a year. Everybody told me it would take a couple of years to do. I says, I don't have that kind of time. So I started talking with people, and we decided to put it right in front of the town hall. And one of the guys that's truly a good friend of mine is right in the middle of that picture. It's Mr. Bill, was a paratrooper, served in the United States Army, and he knew how to use a shovel. We had to take out a lot of the old sod and everything, and he dug it out. There was nothing this man wouldn't do for a veteran. Him and his wife were dear friends of mine. I see him every time I go up there. But we had to raise money to put this park in. And we went to all the different businesses. I have a whole scrapbook at home, copies of the checks. The Sheriff's Department gave us money. Oxford Paint and Hardware, that's them right there with us, as we presented them with a miniature miniature statue of the one that is now there in the park. And this committee was fantastic. They said it couldn't be done. We did it, and we have some footage we're going to show you later. But I want to show you a couple of pictures. But when it finally got done, 8 months, 10 months later, whatever it was, I don't really remember anymore. But it was 2004. It was Augie Palmer, who was a Republican. So it was an independent, Democrat, Republican. Man, if we could only work together nowadays. But such is life. We put the monument in, and you'll see some footage. You'll see how we got it started. The centerpiece is an eagle. This eagle is a bronze statue that we bought. We raised money. We sold pins. We sold miniature statues. And through the donations, we bought it for $13,000. That's what was like one of four that this man ever made. And you know, this is an all veterans monument. So we talked about it, and a friend of mine named Marty the magician, said, hey Bob, I know what you can get this eagle. He was into the arts, he was a magician, and he said, there's a guy named Wally Shoup, he's out west. He made this beautiful eagle, the wing touching the mountaintop. He says, I think maybe I can get you a good deal on it. Well, he did. We got a good deal for like $13,000. We had put it on a granite stone. The committee came to me and said, we like your poem. We want to put it on the monument. I said, on one condition. And they said, what's that? My name does not appear there. Just put down copywritten 2004. The reason being, I wanted to be true to my word. There are no names there. It's past, present, and future. Well, we had a dedication, and I think we have some footage of the dedication of the monument. But I want to show you a couple of pictures I got. These pictures are my favorites. We had 4 recent active military people that were in our town. And they unveiled the statue. This is my favorite. He recently was over in Iraq, when we invaded Iraq. His name is John Dressel. And his picture was on the front page of all the newspapers. John and his mom are very good friends of mine over the years. And I'm very proud of this picture. This is John when he finally retired from the military, highly decorated. His mom, Margaret, who's a very good friend of mine, and my good friend, Bill Baxter, who's always been there for Legionnaires and everything. He and another guy named Bobby Fritz sponsored 2 baseball teams, a post of about 400 people. They knew how to get things done. This was John. Saddam Hussein's palace. He was in there, had his picture taken from the newspapers, also on the front page of the Daily News. We helped to raise a lot of money. We got, like I said, I had a great committee. I know what to do. You know, the people at Burt Miles, Pat Keckler, a whole bunch of other people, we'd be out there selling pins, different Oxford memorial pins, contributions. And we raised enough money to have this whole park put in. And this was one of the last pictures I got of my uncle and my mom. This was in 2004. And shortly after this, my Uncle Ted passed. Years later, my mom came to live with us, and she is, of course, no longer with us. But that's a very special picture to me. And that little poem I talked to you about, which started with this picture, that's what's on that monument. And we not only raised enough money for that park, we had money left over. So we said, what are we going to do with the money? Well, you know, it's a small town. It was about 10,000 people, I think, at the time. I don't know what it is now. We're going to give a check, $100 every Christmas to any active military person. This was in 2004. I just got a call about 10 months ago. The fund is starting to run out of money. Some kids did a run. They raised some money in the past, but they're running out of money. So I donated a photograph that was given to me by some good friends, Connie Bidlock and Gary Bidlock, who was Connie's uncle. They thought I would love this picture painting. It was done by an artist who was a Korean veteran. It was her uncle. And I absolutely love it. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful painting. But I decided if I give it to the town for a raffle, we can raise some money. So that's where it is. This past Memorial Day, they were going to raffle it off. However, because of the virus, they didn't bother to sell any tickets. So this Veterans Day, we're hoping that things will calm down and they can raffle this off and have some more money for the military people from Oxford. So that's pretty much the park, which I'm very proud of. And it sits right out in front of the town hall. And that's part 4.